Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. I am Pasta Jardula, and Johnny Sue is still spinning on those ones and twos over there, and we have an awesome guest in the house today on the couch, my man from Syria. He went cray-cray on Twitter the other day. Here, take a look at his video real quick, and then we'll introduce him after. This is a great 2 minutes and 20 seconds here. You're going to love it.
You didn't get one policy. That's what Bernie Sanders did with his leverage. And then on top of it, he told you to go endorse this rapist war criminal. That's what happened today. So don't come around and tell me that, you're being mean to Bernie. Shut the fuck up, man. You know what's mean? Letting people die because they don't have health care. You know what's mean? Bombing my fucking country. What the fuck did Syria do to you, you fucking asshole? You know what's mean? Locking up blacks and Latinos. Not giving people a fucking living wage. That's what's mean, you motherfucker. So if you're okay with that, you go vote for Joe Biden, the fucking rapist. Meanwhile, the rest of the people with their brains switched on ain't gonna fucking do that. We're done. It's not just dem exit. Dem exit will not suffice because you've left the establishment in place, intact. Rent strike, general strike. End of story. AOC and Ilhan Omar and the squad and Ro Khanna who votes, against the BDS movement. And then Bernie Sanders, they're trying their best. Instead of Medicare for all, what are you gonna get? Eligibility age down from 65 to 60. Wow. What about free college? Any debt cancellation? No. Fuck you. Just some crumbs. You didn't get a single policy concession from Joe Biden or the Democratic establishment. That's the problem. You let an entire movement hinge on one person and they cut the fucking head off of your movement. They left you with your pants down. And what did you get? Fuck all. It's time to wake up. Come on, get up. The capitalists, they ain't gonna give you no wages. They ain't gonna give you no health care. They ain't gonna stop bombing the brown people like this. It's go time. Come on. Don't let your movement hinge on one person. It doesn't work. FDR did the same fucking thing. History lesson. Go read your fucking history books. I'm not American. How do I know your history better than you? How do I understand your political system better than you? Why the fuck are you lacking? What did FDR do? He took the socialists. He took the communists. He talked the talk. He gave them the New Deal. He gave them the federal jobs program. And then he cut the fucking heads off of their movement. And he absorbed their leaders. And he crushed their movements for 100 years. You got nothing since. Nothing. All the wealth going to the top 1%, and you got shit. Even during the pandemic, what did they give you? Fucking scraps, crumbs of $1,200. That's how much they respect you. And then Bernie Sanders is like, Joe Biden is a friend of mine. Go vote for this rapist. Go vote for this war criminal. And you're defending that bullshit? You got no friends in Washington, D.C. Your enemy is laughing at you, and they ain't at Washington, D.C. They're at Wall Street. Wake up, asshole.
So much can be said in such a little time sometimes. And, when I like somebody, I like somebody. I'm not going to lie that. And I always liked your Papi Chulomin. And I would like to welcome Papi Chulomin to the show, my friend Rich over here. Chulomin. Is it Chulomin or Chulomin?
Chulomin, like admin.
Okay, so Papi Chulomin. Here I get him. I'm all over the place. Papi.
It's
Rich. Welcome to the show.
Rich,
Welcome to coming on the Convo Couch. You were with us yesterday for the ROKFIN exclusive. And like I was saying, my man, so much can be said in so little time. That's why you're here today, because that piece, and I know a lot of people are putting up, they love your rants, they love when you go off. I love it too. We all have that ourselves as we do these things. We have these moments where it really hits us and we go off from what's happening around us. Yeah. But when you could say so much in such a little time, right now, my man, I got you ranked number 2 behind Tulsi Gabbard's Hill article, that one-page Hill article she wrote about the way the intelligence community shouldn't be handling and getting involved in our elections and pushing this Russiagate narrative. I thought so much was said. I read that thing 5 times. But this rant, my man, you went off and you said so much in 2 minutes and 20 seconds that I had to bring you on so we can break it down. What was your overall feeling? Just the macro of how you were feeling after Bernie Sanders and Biden united, because we got nothing, right? So give it to us, my man.
Look, I think, like, as soon as I saw that Bernie Sanders endorsed Biden, I immediately did a live stream, because I was angry. We knew it was coming. There are people say oh, you didn't know that's coming. Yeah, we knew it was coming, man. I don't care. I'm still angry. And if you're not angry, there's something wrong with you. All right. So I did the live stream, and this rant that you saw was you've been talking for an hour and a half. I was still angry, and I was angry after I stopped it, man. After I went out off the air, because it's it's so much at once, man. It's really a lot to swallow, Yeah. It's 2016 and 2020, and everything that's happened the decades before that, and everything that's still going to happen, because I feel like nothing is going to change. And man, it's really like it's an anger. It's not just directed at Bernie Sanders or something like that. It's also like a collective, like a collective anger on our part as well, because let's be honest here, I think a lot of people, they had put all of their eggs in one basket and hinged a lot of hope on this Democratic Party, whether we're talking about Bernie or Tulsi or whoever, the progressive wing of this party, right? And at the end of the day, you can't trust this party even, to fulfill anything, because like whether the actors are well intentioned or not, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, Washington D.C., they blunt any kind of opposition when like any real threat gets blunted, and it's So like.
Yeah, well, let me ask you another question here, because look, and I know what you're saying, man. But it seems that there's a little switch now, Rich, that's been turned. Even with myself, are the gloves off now when it comes for treatment towards Bernie Sanders, or does he still get some type of like pass that we don't go too far because he somewhat? I mean, people say he started this movement, whatnot. He's the one who caught on fire. I still argue that Dennis Kucinich ran for president with almost the same platform, more of a bigger fighter, where he refused to just give Obama the ACA without trying to get some concessions for it, even more than Bernie Sanders when Bernie gave in. Mm-hmm. But Bernie Sanders still is the one who caught fire, and everybody kind of followed his footsteps. It seemed in that video, though, now, Papi, that gloves are off. Are we right now?
Yeah.
Is it time to go full scorched earth, progressives on Bernie Sanders for what he did?
Yeah. I mean, it's So I would argue, yeah, man, like the cuffs are off. Like there's no point. Like what is this? There's no sugarcoating it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not even. I feel like you could argue from now until like the end of time, literally, about whether Bernie Sanders did his best or not, or like what was he too soft on Joe Biden? Was the media too unfair? Was this entire campaign from 2016 and this campaign from 2020, was this entire movement a fool's errand because you just can't reform the Democratic Party? We can argue that till the end of time, man. At the end of the day, the result is the same. Nothing is better off than it was like before 2016. Matter of fact, it's worse. It's literally
we have digressed
worse because in 2008 you had Occupy Wall Street. People are getting screwed over right now with this $1,200. Like people are in their negatives in their bank accounts, right?
Yeah,
because they're getting like they're
insufficient fees.
Exactly, man. And this $1,200 ain't even covering ain't even giving them back to like a neutral sum, man. It's like they're not even getting back to the balance of zero. It's just getting eaten up, and that's it. Like, yeah, you're on your own, and no one is doing anything about it. You can't even go outside to riot because of this coronavirus stuff, man. The gloves better be off, and you better be like picking up a goddamn pitchfork at this point, because like if you are not mad out of your goddamn mind at all of it, the whole establishment, all of them included, you need to wake up, man. Like what more is it going to take? Like, what do you, what do you need? A third run? Like,
well, no, I think that I think people are still going to hold their hopes and dreams. There's a big piece of that Bernie movement who are still kind of like holding on to Bernie Sanders and still thinking like, they're still thinking that his grandstanding on the floor during this bill, which to me was like, the final straw, was what happened in this CARES Act, that we got dick for this fucking thing. You said it. Scraps. Nothing during the pandemic. We got shit. And yet everybody is still up there blowing sunshine up Bernie Sanders' ass. And whether, let me tell you this much, Papi, whether it be he sheep herded or whether he was just negligent and fucking really lost, but he still tried, it doesn't matter. To me, it's obvious he's not the leader of this movement anymore, and it's up to us and take it to the next level.
Yeah, exactly. Like the only devil's advocate that I played when this whole grandstanding was going on, not just from him, but from AOC as well, but specifically towards Bernie Sanders, right? Because the thing is, you can look back at like 40 years of him saying the same thing, more or less. And you could make the argument like, look, man, you got a whole room, that entire floor is full of corrupt actors, and he's the only one, the only somewhat good one that you could give the benefit of the doubt to. So it's not constructive to go after him only. However, that's just playing devil's advocate. At the end of the day, it's like you said, and it's like I said, and I'm going to keep saying, it makes no fucking difference.
Yeah.
We ain't got time for this shit, man. People are sick of like clinging to this false hope and thinking that, oh, you know, I'm going to cast my ballot for this guy and he's going to go and fight for me. No. He's not going to fight for you.
Yeah.
Whatever fight he's got in him is going to get blunted, is going to get absorbed into Washington, D.C., because that's where movements go to die.
Exactly. You talked about that Washington, D.C. versus Wall Street. And like the first TED Talk that Jonny Tsunami made me watch is people follow other people for why they do things. We don't have to follow Bernie Sanders anymore. The reasons why are the reasons for us to take the movement on ourselves and move forward. But let me get to the next question, because this is something you said, and I immediately when you said it inside the video, I started to think. You said, if you're good with that, then you go vote for fucking Joe Biden. But those of us with our brain turned on aren't going to do it. Do you really believe that enough people with their brains turned on are gonna, you know, there's enough people with their brains turned on to prevent Joe Biden from winning? Or did the mainstream media do a good enough job of pushing forth a guy like Joe Biden to make him viable? In other words, we in the bubble, in the echo chamber, we think Joe Biden is full of shit. Not just the fact that he has dementia. Policy-driven, he's fucking awful. So we're never going to vote for him. And I think we had this disdain that Bernie, you know, riding shotgun with this guy, not just endorsing him, but going on the road with him. But really, Papi, I mean, are you convinced that enough people know about Joe Biden that he won't be a threat to win? Because I'm not. And the mainstream media, I think, is doing a great job. Hollywood is propping up Joe.
Yeah, it's not just you have to look at this in a grand scheme of things. It's not just that the mainstream media have done such an effective job into sidelining Bernie Sanders, stigmatizing him as a socialist, etc. But on top of it, they've also, as you said, they've done a good enough job of brainwashing people that, oh my God, Joe Biden is going to restore dignity to the White House, whatever the fuck that means, 3 shakes. And on top of it, man, they brainwash people into voting against their own self-interest. I mean, I'm not kidding, man. Like you have people in the United States to this day who are convinced that, man, I love getting ripped off by big pharma. I love paying jacked up prices. I love the private sector sticking a giant, dildo up. I still don't know if I can curse, man. I'm sorry if I curse too much, but
curse all you want.
The thing is, man, like the brainwashing is spanned over decades to this point. It's not just about Joe Biden anymore. You have to undertake such a large program. Sorry, you have to undertake such a large endeavor, to deprogram and uncondition people because of this decades of conditioning that, oh my God, socialism is bad, and anything that deviates from giving all of our check and our livelihood and slaving away for the private sector is communism. Man, it's really egregious arguing with people sometimes. They're so used to being exploited that they just can't understand that having healthcare, universal healthcare, not getting price gouged by big pharma, that not that when you get sick, you have paid sick leave, that you have all of these social safety nets. This exists in all of the countries that are allied with the United States, like Canada and Western European nations. It's not something that came out of Lenin's basement. I mean, it's really you have. This is why I keep saying you can't just it's not enough to start a new party. You need to have a new media, because as long as you have the media, the mainstream media in place, they're going to keep brainwashing the people into voting against their own self-interest, whether that's Joe Biden or Barack Obama or whatever, candidate they put in front of your face.
Why your rant is so important, because it opens eyes and people start listening and they start saying, okay, what's this about? You know what I'm saying? 300,000 views and a great message there. But are we really done with the Democratic Party for good then, you think? I mean, is this time? And is rent strike, general strike, the next move for progressives? Explain that whole scenario that, hey, A, we are done, or we still have room to try to transform the party, and B, why a general strike and a rent strike is the next move for progressives. Go ahead.
Man, listen, this is the whole thing. Like, people need to stop falling into the trap of thinking it's a two-party system. It's not. It's a one-party system.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think this is also something that I have maybe a slightly easier time in seeing as I'm not American. Like, I can see this from a third person view. Like, it's everything that comes out of DC is the goddamn same. They just prove that to you.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders, willingly or unwillingly, just proved that to you. You have no avenue with these people. They're not interested in reforming the system, not even one iota. I mean, think about this for 1 second.
Yeah.
They won't budge a goddamn inch. You know, Nancy Pelosi's showing her fucking fridge, her $11,000 fridge full of, you know, designer ice cream. Meanwhile, you're getting crumbs, and she didn't even want to give you those goddamn crumbs in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. And people are still want to support this witch and the rest of her, you know, party. I mean, this is madness. Why on earth would you enable these people that are screwing you and then pretending to be on your side? They're gaslighting you 24/7. I mean, think about this. People are literally starving. You have 22 million unemployed now, and she is going on a late night show to show you her full fridge. Look at me. Look at me. My fridge is full. Screw you, man. The Democratic Party was done with you 100 years ago. So, you know, people need to wake up now.
Yeah.
They really need to wake up now.
So the Democratic Party done. Walking time.
Man.
Why is a rent strike and a general strike the next move, Papi? Tell us.
Listen, man, I'll be honest, because just to finish on that point, there are people who are going to gaslight you and be like, oh, but, you know, you got to vote for the Democrats because they're slightly less dangerous. No, this is I'm not going to, man.
Yeah.
That is so insulting to hear that shit, because the motherfuckers that started regime change in Syria, that was Barack Obama and Joe Biden. That wasn't no fucking Republican to me. So that make no fucking difference what you tell me. That is bullshit. Okay. And that's pure gaslighting. They are just trying to get you in line like sheep once again. And they will always tell you, they will always give you this argument that we are, you know, we're the lesser evil. No, you got to be done with them. And all this Supreme Court pick and you know, the voting down the ballot bullshit, throw that in the garbage. That is an attempt to keep you within the fence. That's an attempt to, you know, keep you lined up like sheep. That's it. You got to be done with them. And the reason you got to go for rent strike and general strike. Now, look, man, this is twofold. The reason I bring up rent strike is not just because, you know, you're going through, I mean, I don't know how this is going to turn out to be. Maybe it could be a Great Depression part 2. Like I said, we already at 22 million unemployed. And I mean, how long is this going to go on for now?
Yeah.
It's a disaster. And one of the only ways that you can protest now with this coronavirus, since you can't come into contact with other people, you know, is rent strike. Not just because it's the morally, fiscally responsible thing to do, but also because of your health, right? That's one thing. Now, the general strike, and why I say rent strike and general strike together, these two things, is because, man, you got to hit the capitalists where it hurts. Man, Bernie Sanders' entire campaign was about special interests have bought Washington. That's the message. All right.
Yep.
Then you can dissect big pharma, military industrial complex, etc. But the message is special interests have bought Washington. So why don't you just go right to the special interests if you can't find no avenue with Washington? Bernie Sanders himself can't give you nothing. All these progressives that you think you can get, like, oh, I'm gonna get. We'll vote in 2 more progressives in the next midterms, you know, and like, no, this is futile.
Yeah.
This is futile. Look how they all voted 100% in favor of that bill. Even when it counts, they won't. Nah, man, they won't stand up for you. This is the idea, man, that the party hacks, the capitalists who have the special interests, who have bought the politicians, they apply more pressure to these progressives that you are sending off to be stonewalled in Washington, D.C. than you do. You are supposed to be, I mean, they're supposed to represent you. And that's a big issue here, right? Because they're not representing you. They're representing these special interests. So you got to go straight to the source. You got to hurt the capitalists with the only thing they care about, which is making money. I mean, this is literally just like, we've eliminated all the other possibilities. You didn't just run Bernie Sanders once. You ran him twice. You made damn sure this guy ain't getting it. Okay. Yeah. You already put progressives in government. Look how they vote in the worst of times. In the worst of times, they won't even stick up for you. So we've tried this experiment. And like I told you, man, FDR, that was 100 years ago. You got nothing since. And the only reason you got some from FDR was because of, you know, union movements, socialist movements, the communist movement getting together and saying, listen, man, you don't give us what we want. Yeah. We're going to take everything.
Yeah. It was pitchfork time, I think, when it came to FDR. And a lot of people, I remember his infamous letter between him and his brothers saying, hey, man, maybe we should give up some of our wealth before these motherfuckers eat us.
Exactly.
But But
Exactly.
let's stay on the general strike, rent strike. And I do think you missed one thing. I think it's a rent strike, general strike, debt strike. I think a debt strike is important. All the
Oh,
student
of
loan,
course,
all
with
the
the
credit
credit card.
cards. Tell them no. If we're going to hurt the
The
banks,
student debt
let's
and the medical
really
debt.
cut
Of
them
course.
off.
Of course.
But how in a pandemic or coming out of the pandemic will progressives then bargain? I mean, what should we do at that point? So we have no friends in Washington. Our enemies are in Wall Street and they're laughing at us. We go to them and we say, hey, you ain't getting dick until we renegotiate UBI, Medicare for all, jobs program. But then are we still lacking leadership? Does somebody need to still come forth and say, hey, I'm going to represent these people behind me? Are we still searching for someone?
I mean, the issue is that, like, the first thing you got to watch out for is CIA plants. That's the first thing. I mean, seriously, like, there's not one movement that isn't infiltrated. But I mean, just the whole notion is behind what happened in the time of the Great Depression is that you had a coalition. And if you look at what happened in France as well, you had Le Front Populaire, the Popular Front. This was also a coalition of socialists and communists. It's the same deal, and unionists. Okay, so it's the same deal, man. No pun intended. you need people from a broad coalition, and this is not the coalition I'm talking about when Obama and these jagoffs, tell you that.
No, you need a real coalition. Workers.
Yeah, I'm talking about a real coalition.
That bullshit. That was that coalition. We don't need that.
Exactly, man. Like, just gaslighting you with this. Joe Biden with this. We can come together, and he gives you this olive branch.
Such bullshit.
This is insulting. Like, I'm not kidding, man. I saw Steve Mnuchin, right, getting on television a few hours ago and telling people that this $1,200 is crumbs is enough to last them 10 weeks. I mean,
I saw
this guy is literally begging you to come with the pitchforks. He's begging you. Nancy Pelosi is begging you to come with the torches. I don't understand this, man. It's unreal how they have this disdain, how much they loathe the American people. They're really living in another world, in their own bubble. Yeah. And it's time to wake them up.
Can I tell you something too, Rich? It's so funny because you made that video after seeing Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders together, whatnot. I made a video too, but my video was kind of like echoing what you're talking about. Like, what? And I said, if you want a third party now, but what is it going to look like? Are we going to fucking come together? Are we going to start talking to people that don't normally talk to each other? Because I was really talking about the neo-progressive social justice warriors and the way they pushed out these libertarian-minded people who wanted to kind of form a coalition. And they didn't want these people in there. They didn't want the Tulsi people in there. You know what I'm saying? We were progressives. We just agreed on different issues, and we thought other issues were more important, just like you thought your issues were more important. But our issues of civil liberties and election integrity were really the foundation for you to get that Medicare for all, for you to have a Green New Deal. Yeah. And we agreed on these things, and yet we couldn't come together because the friggin' mudslinging and the cancel culture in the United States, especially from the younger generation, is really stopping the movement from growing forward. Okay? And we have no representation, like you said, in Washington. And those people like the AOCs and the Rashidas kind of went to that way. Is there any way, shape, or form, the Squad, the Rokanas, Tulsi's leaving right now, so she's out of Congress. But is there any way that these guys could become allies and maybe they change their tunes the way they were, very kind of like with that progressive identity politics, and get to more of a populist mentality where they'll take people from the center right? Or are they done?
Man,
Can they ever be trusted? We know we can't trust Nancy Pelosi, but these junior members, is there still time for them, Papi, or do you believe they're done?
Look, man, I'll be really honest with you. I don't think that you have any avenue with them. This is just, you have
no faith in them.
No, I don't, man. And it's not because I'm saying that they are strictly bad faith actors and that they went into Washington D.C. with like these really evil intentions. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that this avenue has already been tried. It's a waste of time. You need to go straight to the source. And you could still get this is what I said with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders could get at least Medicare for all. And I think it's way more than that. He could get at least Medicare for all passed right now if he really wanted to. This guy is the biggest political movement in American modern history, at least, at least for the last couple of decades. Let's be conservative, right? With that estimate. In the last couple of decades, right? He doesn't need to get into the Oval Office to get Medicare for All passed.
I agree.
If you really wanted to. If he called for a general strike and a rent strike right now,
Yes.
he went on Twitter, I went live stream, like he's been doing the live stream to prop up Joe Biden. He could do a fucking live stream for people, a little rent strike. Would that work? Is that okay for his schedule? I think it could happen, but he doesn't want to, or he can't for whatever reason. But my point is that, this guy, if you really wanted to, he doesn't even need to get into the Oval Office. He could do that now with the movement he already has in place, which he spent years building already.
Yes.
So that proves to you don't actually have to count on your elected representatives to get that done for you and put all your eggs into one basket and like blindly hope that, they're going to not be corrupted or blackmailed or blunted or whatever, absorbed, whatever, term or theory you want to use once they get into Washington, D.C.
Yeah. I said the same thing too, Rich. You don't have to have the whole Oval Office. Everything, the reasons why. Johnny making me watch the TED Talk. Why do we follow this guy? All those reasons why. We can get them right now without his presidency. But you know what? He ain't trending in the right direction. He ain't building the coalitions. He's still pushing people away, like Brianna Joy Gray, like he did Zephyr Teach Out. All the people on the floor, the ground, you know what I'm saying?
I remember that.
He still pushed away Tulsi Gabbard, you know what I'm saying, as well.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I see him distancing himself from the actual progressives and saying guys, I'm sorry, I'm going to stay in the warm house with the establishment. Joe Biden is my friend. We're going to have warm milk and cookies, and that's the way it is, guys. I'm sorry. And if you don't want the disastrous Donald Trump to become president, vote for this rapist fucking warmonger over here.
Exactly, man. This gaslighting bullshit. Like, it's one thing if he said, look, guys, I tried. I'm sorry, but it's not happening. And he doesn't even disclose why. Maybe he got threatened. Who knows? Maybe the G-men came to his house in a black SUV. They pulled up with machetes and they're like, you talk about Medicare for all one more time. Yeah. Who knows? But dude, you don't have to go and then tell us like this gaslighting that, oh, well, Joe Biden is a friend of mine and he's better. Like the blue rapist is better than the red rapist. And, his bombs were not as bad as this guy's bombs. Really? Do you have to put salt in people's wounds? Like, do you really have to go that far? Apparently, yeah. And this is just adding insult to injury. And man, I'm so done with these people. I really am. And I think, look, I'm going to be as diplomatic. No, fuck that. Listen, man, people in DC, just fuck them, man. You got to be done with them. They already proved to you over and over and over and over again, even in the worst of goddamn times, they won't give you an inch. They won't even give you a quarter of Medicare for all. They won't even give you free coronavirus treatment. They won't, man. They're just spitting in American people's faces and the working class's faces day in, day out. They spit in your faces. They go on Twitter and say, oh, we this should be, and this should be free. And just calling for shit on Twitter. Man, you work in Washington, D.C. Go and knock on Nancy Pelosi's fucking door the next time you go to your 9 to 5. And tell her what you were sent there to do by your elected representatives instead of fucking tweeting about it.
Yeah.
I don't work in Washington, D.C. You don't work in Washington. They fucking do. They're there to make that change. Why aren't they doing that?
Yeah.
They should. Man, we're going through a global pandemic. There's 22 million people unemployed. AOC, Bernie Sanders shouldn't be wasting a fucking second. They should be banging on the goddamn doors. They should be running into Trump's office trying to get Medicare for all passed.
Yeah.
Trying to give people a proper UBI, not these crumbs, this bullshit.
Yeah, but it's never going to happen,
infuriating
Rich.
to watch, man.
It's never going to happen because you know what? They're sitting together and they're having task force. And this is, once again, there's a bunch of freaking people sitting in a room that have no power and talking amongst themselves what should be done. I've said this from the get-go.
Exactly.
And when Donald Trump got elected, my thought process was like, all right, Bernie, you're the leader of the movement. Go to Donald Trump and demand shit. Work with Donald Trump. He's in office.
Yep.
Instead of them just sit there and freaking tell us that he's the worst president, and they're still doing it. Trump's the worst president in modern history. No, he's not, number one. I can think of George Bush, who was a lot fucking worse than him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he's not that much better, and Obama wasn't that much better. And all you're doing is providing cover for the neoliberals by getting them concentrated on Trump when you should be cleaning your own fucking house, and they're not doing it. One last question.
Man.
I want our audience to understand this. We got to get you out of here soon. We got another show. How exactly did the head get cut off of the movement, like you said, And who is the one holding the sword? Is it those folks down in Wall Street? Or can we start putting some fucking names to these guys who are wielding the sword and cutting the heads off of the movements? Like you said, FDR, he absorbed the leaders, cut their fucking heads off, and then we didn't get shit for the next 100 years. Who's wielding the sword now, Papi, and how do we get a control of this?
Man, when they say that Obama went and he called Bernie Sanders a few days before he dropped out, I mean, do you really think Obama just out of the fucking blue got out of bed and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna call Bernie Sanders and I'm gonna get him to drop out because I like Joe Biden so much? No. Obama is sent. Obama is an agent of Wall Street, of the 1%. He works for them. He doesn't work for you. What are you, fucking 5 years old? Wake up, asshole. What are you, stupid? Barack Obama don't control shit. Yes, he may be an iconic figure or whatever the fuck that means in the Democratic Party, but that doesn't mean anything. This guy works for Wall Street. Right? He filled his cabinet with Wall Street and Big Pharma. Big Pharma, they tripled their goddamn revenue under him. They love this guy. They love him. Okay. And then he gave you the ACA. I mean, this is a joke. Yeah. So the thing is, man, these special interests, the 1% Wall Street, they are the ones who are moving the chess pieces. They're the ones who are doing everything. All the pressure being applied on Bernie Sanders, all of the pressure being applied on every single person who walks into the halls of Capitol Hill comes from Wall Street. I mean, the people who actually make real decisions that affect the country and the world, who are in Washington, D.C., you could probably fill a toilet with them. That's how fucking few they are.
Well, we should get their fucking names, and we should start taking care of them Mussolini style. We're just hanging them in the fucking streets because it's time.
And the thing with FDR is like, this dude, I mean, it's really unbelievable. Like he's such a good bullshitter that, he rammed this giant dildo up Americans' asses and at the same time made Americans thank him for it. Like to this day, you have people saying, oh, this guy, he's the most popular president in American history. He got elected 4 times. He's such a darling. He gave us the New Deal. He gave these lovely concessions. Man, FDR is not an idiot. This guy comes from an elite family. Yeah. He's Ivy League educated. He didn't give you the New Deal because he has such a compassionate fucking heart. He didn't give you, all of these nice things because he cares so much. This guy only did it because he knew that this is the best way to save capitalism. That's all he cares about. Yeah. In the long run, this made more money than he could even have dreamt of. Yeah. FDR, man, if he knew what this stimulus package just did, he'd be having a wet dream right now. Okay.
No, I think a lot of people don't realize that FDR had no choice because, like you said, all these things. It was pitchfork time too. People were starving. They were in the streets. There was a very big, much inequality. A lot of homelessness people. The Dust Bowl era. So they were gonna. Even Lyndon Baines Johnson, same thing. Oh, he gave us the civil rights movement. He had no fucking chance. Martin Luther King Jr. got assassinated. Malcolm X got assassinated. You know what I'm saying? Kennedys, they were coming. He had to give them something because people got out into the streets. And I know we can't get out in the streets, but right now, Papi, we could plant our flag saying this is what we fucking deserve. This is what we want. Rent strike, general strike, debt strike. You ain't giving us getting shit until we get what we want. And I think that's what your rant really helped people realize and got them thinking in the right way. Let's think now. What do we need to do to get? That's it. Like you said, general strike, rent strike. Wake fucking up, asshole.
That's it, man. It's really going to the source of the problem. This is the only way you're going to get any change. It's not just proven historically, but I mean, you tried everything else. You literally have nothing to lose at this point.
Yeah. Well, what we need from you next time, Papi, is a list of those guys that we got to take care of, and maybe a list of some real leaders. I don't know. I think we still need that. We need a. I don't know if we need a necessary head of a movement. We have different people, but what's it going to look like? You know what I'm saying? And I think we got to encourage people to get in the rooms and talk to people who might be a little bit on the right, mid to right, that have a populist mentality, that we can reach common grounds on certain things together. No?
The thing is, like, the way I see it is that, if you want to get real change, you need a coalition. And look, man, it doesn't matter if they're progressives or whatever label you want to put on them, man. They need to be populist. They need to understand that, it's not, this wing of the Democratic Party or that wing against the meanie batty Republicans. No, it's a one-party system. It's a monopoly. It's not even a duopoly. And even then you should be screaming, why is it a duopoly? But it's a one-party system. So you need a coalition to, Bernie Sanders literally told you this, man. Change comes from the bottom on up. He literally told you this. He said, it's not me, us. He's telling you what to do, even though he couldn't get it done for whatever reason. But he's telling you why, like, stop detracting and thinking that, he's your savior. He's not, man. He told you what to do. And look at your history. You will know what to do. You need a coalition of people because it's the 1% versus the 99%. It's not Republicans versus Democrats, you fucking morons. The rest of the world can see this shit. You need to see it too because it's hurting you and the rest of the world. Yeah. It's the 1% versus the 99%. This is true everywhere. This is true everywhere.
Yeah, the whole world's got to realize that. Yeah,
for real. And the thing is, you can't just have a new party. You need a new media that is not going to be brainwashing and discrediting this new party, because you could have the best leaders, you could have the best coalition, but man, in this day and age with the mainstream media, I mean, man, they've been the results of what you're seeing now. This is decades and decades of brainwashing, man. They have enormous power over the minds of people. This is not some, 1984 is an understatement, man. Look at how people voted against their own self-interest in just this primary alone, man. Look, people reelected George fucking Bush 2 times. If that ain't proof to you that people got something wrong with their brains because of the mainstream media, I don't know what is. Yeah. And, you like I said, you need this, a new party, you need new media, and you need general strike, rent strike, debt strike. You need all 3. If you don't have all 3, you ain't getting shit.
Yeah, I think we should really stick it to them. And somebody says, Osla Fave says, hey, guys, let's get this Federation of Independent Media going now. Hi, Papi. Hi, Pasta. And that was a Super Chat contribution from Osla Fave. Thank you so much. Have 217 watchers over here on the Convo Couch YouTube. And you're on the MCSC network, too, as well today, Papi. We're premiering you in 2 places. ROKFIN yesterday, yes. MCSC network today. Get this trending. Hashtag Bernie Squanders. I see the irony. Thank you for that Super Chat contribution. Bernie Squanders. Anything to get us out of here with, Papi? Anywhere we could tell us where we can find you, what we can do, where they can get more Papi? Because every once in a while they're going to say, I need a little Papi in my life. Tell them where to find you.
All right. So very easy. YouTube.com/Papi Chulomin or Twitter.com/Papi Chulomin. That's my handle. It's just PapiChulomin. That's it. That's the plug. That's the whole plug right there.
We'll have you back on soon. We're going to talk about Syria again. Somebody kind of said today, yes. Oh, man, we got to talk Syria. Talk Syria with Papi Chulomin. And we will, because we did it on our first show. And we'll talk a little bit down the road because that thing hasn't ended yet, too, as well. I understand the military's guarding the oil fields still. And, they need that. The Syrian people need that now for their people. Yes. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
there's a lot to say for sure. There's a lot to say. I just posted a video about Mehdi Hassan, talking all this nonsense about Syria. Man, this guy is really, you got these people with their fucking little check marks, pretending they're all that. Man, they are so dishonest. They know better. I know that they know better. I know this. It's impossible that they don't know the shit that I'm saying. And you got jagoffs like me in my bedroom doing a better job. I mean, come on, man. This is ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, seriously, this is really unacceptable. Hearing these CIA talking points coming from these people like Mehdi Hassan and
he's crazy too. I just saw him ask some stupid questions the other day, and that's the whole thing. Is they also do some rigging, and the rigging helps with the conditioning because they see the fake numbers come out, and then they think, well, I better vote for Joe Biden too, and they're being conditioned by the mainstream media. So yes, we got to keep doing this, and we got to wake people up. We think that most people know, but you'll be surprised. Some people, a lot of people, are sheep. And they're just going to be led no matter what. Thank you for coming on today. Chloe Jones says, cloudy with a chance of guillotines, bro. Anything to say?
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much, man.
We'll see more of you, Papi. You can find him on his YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. For Pasta Jardula, Johnny Sue on the ones and two. Papi Chulomin on the couch today. Convo out.